and every Thursday on the Caribbean's powerhouse, Von Radio, for Speak Up, a social commentary talk show that addresses the state of affairs on NEVIS. Expect great conversations, different perspectives, and an all-inclusive approach to moving NEVIS forward. Tune in. It's time for us to speak up.
Good evening. Today is Thursday, September 16th, 2021, and it is National Heroes Day in the country of St. Kitts and Nevis. I am Jaedee Caines, and I am joined by Rohan each and every Thursday for Speak Up. And as always, we have an exciting show lined up for you. We unfortunately did not have Rohan last week, but we are so happy that he is here with us because I was feeling quite lonely. Good evening, Rohan.
Good evening, Jaedee. It's good to be back. Let me begin by saying a pleasant good evening to the constituents of NEVIS 3, as well as my friends, well-wishers, and of course my family. I want to thank you for your continued support and your prayers as we continue to speak up. Jaedee, let me also extend congratulations to those who are celebrating with a birthday or anniversary this week, or would have done so already, and as well as to extend heartfelt congratulations to Ural Swanston,
yes,
who are among the list of national awardees for the 2021 National Awards. He would have been granted the Companion Star of Merit. I think I recognize one other name there. I think Palsy Wilkin is also among them. So congratulations to those who are selected as awardees for the National Awards 2021. And of course, Ural Swanston, a Gingerlander, an iconic Gingerlander that is, known as a fearless warrior. I don't know if you got the opportunity to see the presentation earlier today. I got to see him. He's looking well, and his mind is as sharp as ever. So congratulations to Ural. I take the opportunity as well to extend condolences to the family of Joycelyn Liber. Of course, we know that is Abu Nati's mother. That is another, or she was another iconic Gingerlander, and well known in the community and loved as well. And so I extend condolences to him and his family, and also to those who related to Ronnie Williams. Of course, that sad news came last week, and we will say our final goodbyes, so to speak, Saturday we pay our final respects to a young, brilliant mind. So condolences as well to her family.
Yes, Rohan, I want to join you in extending congratulations to Ural Swanston, who today, as you would have mentioned, received the Companion Star of Merit Award for his contribution to the social and economic development of NEVIS, and equally to Palsy Wilkin, someone who I know quite well, and she would have received, I'm here looking at the list, we also forgot one. We have Franklin Brand. He received the award for business stewardship and community activist, and so we definitely want to say congratulations to him as well, Companion Star of Merit. For Palsy Wilkin, yes, she would have received the Medal of Honor, and hers was for education. And so we want to say congratulations to these three divisions who would have been awarded, who would have been recognized for their sterling contribution to nation building today. This is something that is done on an annual basis. Bear in mind that a lot of school children will be asked this when they upon their return to school, and so we are letting you know who these persons are. For the full list, though, you can visit the media houses. I know SKNIS had it posted. I'm sure all of the media houses should have it posted by now. But just so you know, three divisions are among the list. Ural Swanston, Palsy Wilkin, and we have Franklin Brand. I also want to join in terms of extending condolences. You would have mentioned some names already. I want to also remember Gordon Parry.
Yes.
He will be laid to rest tomorrow. And so we want to extend condolences to his entire family and to, his supporters, well-wishers, all those who mourn. I want to say a big thank you to all of the participants of this morning's health walk. This morning I was part of a health walk. There were two routes. We had persons walking from Gingerland down to in the area of the Seventh-day Adventist Church down to the former Artisan Village, which is opposite the cultural center, what was once referred to as the cultural center in Charlestown. And we had another set walking from the Orly Beach Hotel all the way to that same endpoint, which is the former Artisan Village. And so it was a wonderful walk, beautiful weather, and we want to say thank you to everyone who would have participated. It was indeed a morning well spent from all reports. And I already extended Happy National Heroes Day to all residents and citizens of Nevis. Rohan, of course, we have to congratulate the St. Kitts Nevis Patriots on winning its first CPL title. I know that quite a few persons were in doubt, but yesterday, there was a lot of celebration in St. Kitts and Nevis as the St. Kitts Nevis Patriots would have been victorious. And so we want to say congratulations to them. And I want to personally recognize Mr. Kezwan Archibald. We call him Kezi. Actually, calling Archibald, Kezwan Archibald, yes. We call him Kezi. He was a part of that team. He was the only division on that team. And so we want to say congratulations to the entire team. But naturally, I want to single out Kezi. Kudos to you guys. That's it for me in terms of the preliminaries. We have an exciting show lined up. Naturally, as I mentioned earlier, it's National Heroes Day, and I'm sure we would want to have some discussion around this National Heroes Day celebration in some way, shape, or form. Here in St. Kitts and Nevis, we have 5 national heroes to date. The Right Excellent Robert Llewellyn Bratcher, the Right Excellent C.A. Paul Southwell, that's Caleb Azariah Paul Southwell, the Right Excellent Joseph N. France, the Right Excellent Simeon Daniel, and the Right Excellent Kennedy Alphonse Simmons. And they have all been awarded based on most posthumously, based on their contribution to nation building. We had Robert Llewellyn Bratcher, who was the first national hero. He was awarded in 1998. He was also the first premier from 1967 until 1978, and he would have served as a public official for about 32 years. We have C.A. Paul Southwell and Joseph N. France, who were awarded in 2004. Southwell was a member of the St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla Legislative Council. He was also the first Minister of Communications and Works, Chief Minister of St. Kitts Nevis and Anguilla, and at one point he was our Premier. Joseph N. France, he was involved in the civil service, Minister of Social Services. He was the General Secretary of the St. Kitts and Nevis Trades and Labor Union, and at some point, I think back in 1996, he was awarded the Order of Michael and St. George, which is a British Order of Chivalry, and the hospital in St. Kitts is named after him. We have Simeon Daniel, the Right Excellent. He was the first Premier of Nevis, and he would have guided Nevis from independence in 1983 to 1992. And of course, Rohan will speak a little bit more about his contribution in a little bit. And he has done quite a bit, so I won't get into that right now since Rohan will expound. And of course, we have the Right Excellent Kennedy Simmons, who is the only living national hero. He would have received the Order of St. Michael and St. George, and he is also the first Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. So these men, no women yet, that will change soon, hopefully, but these men have done commendable jobs, and so they are the national heroes of St. Kitts and Nevis. Rohan, as today is National Heroes Day, and as you reflect on the work of these nation builders. Can you just, expound a little bit on about the one who Nevisians can more relate to in the person of the Right Excellent Simeon Daniel?
Really, of course, when we talk about the Right Excellent Sir Simeon Daniel, people refer to him, most people refer to him as the father of modern day NEVIS.
Yes.
When we look around NEVIS, we see his DNA, his imprint is practically everywhere. From Barnsgate, of course. Barnsgate is the home of the first premier of NEVIS, brought up in relative poverty, as most people would have done back then. And this gentleman would eventually later transform into a giant of Nevisian politics, of Nevisian service and Nevisian humanity.
Yes.
As I said, he's credited for the platform on which we are seeking to build currently on the island of Nevis, and his outstanding vision and leadership is the reason why we look to propel even further. 1970 was a defining year for the island of Nevis. I think you're familiar with the Christina disaster that would have ensued, and that was a watershed moment, and Dr. Daniel decided that Nevisians needed to in some sense have a level of autonomy. Okay. I think it was in those days you had to travel to Bastia for everything, and it was at that point in time he sought out to chart a new course, new direction, a new hope for the people of Nevis. And so he understood that in order for Nevis or Nevisians to be self-reliant, of course we are familiar and we know that that was his main aim, to grant Nevis that level of autonomy. That is why Clause 113 sits comfortably in the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis. A number of things had to happen, and so he would have set out with his colleagues to build out some important pillars. So in 1970, he was among the founders of the Nevis Reformation Party. From 1972 to 1980, he was the leader of the local council here on Nevis. 1975 and 1980, he was elected to the member of National Assembly. We remember well that he would have served in the National Assembly with Pam at the time.
Yes.
He was once the Minister of Finance, and later the Minister of Nevis Affairs.
And that's no small feat, Rohan.
You're holding the purse. So with the Minister of Finance, that's as you said, no small feat. That's big fish kind of thing. Of course, we know that he was a key framer of the Constitution. It was him and Dr. Simmons who would have made the journeys to England to make intercession on behalf of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis for independence. That was gained in 1983, and it was around that time that significant milestone led to the creation of the Nevis Island Assembly, which gave it to Nevis Island administration. He became Premier of Nevis, the island's first Premier, in 1983, and was leader until 1992, when he would have lost leadership of the island. Between then, he would have delivered on some very key, important institutions for Nevis. The basic quality of life services improved under Dr. Simeon Daniel. You're talking about reliable electricity in that time, delivery of water, paved roads. We saw paved roads for the first time under Dr. Simeon Daniel. Government-run preschools. The Nevis Sixth Form College.
Yes.
Multi-purpose center, and I found this interesting. I never knew this, but the multi-purpose center was for educating the masses. So you consider way back then he had that vision.
Yes.
He had that niche to want to educate the masses, and interestingly, you look across the region, we don't find politicians wanting to do that, because
because there's this notion. I cut you off, but there's this notion that if you educate persons, they're going to get to the level where you are, and then somehow get things that you somehow feel like are only entitled to you.
You find many people starting to improve into that particular bracket, and then you don't feel as special as you once did.
Correct.
Some of the people will tell you it's a control mechanism as well, because if you can limit what they know, then they're more likely to be attuned to you, because you're providing information.
Yes.
Land ownership was a big thing.
Yes.
And sometimes really I wish that we had that opportunity to be in that era. A half acre of land was $3,000.
Wow.
A full acre of land was $6,000.
$6,000, yes.
And so you look around NEVIS, and it is in the St. Thomas's area, the St. John's area, and you'll see people, and you sit back and you say, "Why these people have a lot of land?" And then you get to understand why, and land ownership led to the ownership of homes, and that was part of his mandate as well. And so people began to avail themselves of modern, with respect, housing, and that builds the human psyche and that self-fulfilling prophecy. And we know that when people are happy, they're productive. And so that was part of his mandate. The land reform program, that same program of selling land to divisions, was the first in the OECS. That is absolutely remarkable. And NEVIS, and I guess we'll get to that in discussion, a lot of fasts within the OECS in respect to NEVIS has come with the NRP. But we'll get to that.
So Rohan, we can speak about Dr. Daniel's contribution to NEVIS, all night.
Yeah.
All night, really, we can. You've mentioned so many things. I'm sure that some of our listeners didn't even know half of the things that you would have mentioned. But what I particularly like about what you said is that you were able to show the connection to where we are now. And if we can just delve into that a little bit more, some of the things you would have mentioned, for example, let's deal with land ownership. Where are we now when compared to that foundation that we got back in the time of Dr. Simeon Daniel?
Well, that's a good question. I'm sure you would have had conversations, and you would have heard this quite often. People talk about the accessibility to land now, and the cost of land now.
Correct.
And so it's a different time, but when you look at it, still $3,000 wasn't easy money.
Correct.
Back in that time. But people are still in this day and era, the access to land and availability of land for divisions is not quite an easy thing. I could go to my hometown Barnesgate, where an enormous amount of land was sold to a non-national, and when you look, people say, well, he had the money and XYZ, fine. But when you look at how the development of Barnesgate would have been, we are practically beginning closed. And so all that land that was below us is now non-accessible to us unless something miraculous happens along the way.
One of the key things I think that should happen in any government is that we have to look at making your island, your country, a place for your people to benefit from later on in life. And so we find that Dr. Simeon Daniel and others around his time would have had that vision. They recognize that it would be an investment now, but down the road your children would be able to benefit, your grandchildren would be able to benefit. What we are seeing now is, on the rare occasion where we get a development, where we get something of substance, we recognize that there is very little in it for divisions. There's very little in it for the children. There's very little in it that we can claim as our own. And not all development is good development, mind you. That's
True.
something that we have to be mindful of. We touched on land ownership, and you said something very important, and that has to do with the cost. Yes, land may be available, but we also have to make sure that it is affordable to our people. I mean, just recently someone would have shown me an offer letter for them to get a home, and they said, Jaedee, I was so excited when I got the letter. I was like, yes, but when I opened the letter and I read through it in terms of detail and I saw the breakdown, I was like, it's crazy. This is somebody who is barely making, not even making $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
And I work in the financial services sector, so I was able to do some quick math, some quick calculations in my head, and I recognized that there is no way that person would be able to pay for that based on her salary. And this is something that is crazy. Another thing to Rohan, you spoke about the establishment of the NEVIS sixth form. Now that came in 1980. It was at Bath Plain, where the Housing and Land, if I'm not mistaken, used to be. Housing and Land Corporation used to be. They then moved in 1983 to where it's currently located, meaning at the Charlestown Secondary School campus. So many years later, 38 years later, it is still there. What are your thoughts, Rohan?
I go back, and as young individuals, we would have had numerous conversations about wanting to be able to advance our own educational development at home.
Yes.
We have had conversations about a community college for NEVIS.
Yes.
I am sure that many of us remember the current administration making a promise to do some separation and to give sixth form its levity and its autonomy. That hasn't happened. And I understand that there are some struggles and difficulties currently at the sixth form college, and my take is very simple. If we are to be serious about the educational development of our students, it is time for sixth form to stand on its own. And for me, there is no reason why it can't happen. Divisions, as you would say, are among the best and brightest anywhere in the region. And I'm sure we can take small enough steps, gradual steps,
correct,
to establishing the community college and making necessary partnerships around the region. Dr. Kelvin Daly is the former president of the CFBC.
Correct.
And if Dr. Kelvin Daly could have led that institution to successes, I think it was under him that the partnership with the University of the Virgin Islands was established. So if these things can happen elsewhere, and I said this with Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge when he recognized her contribution to the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Yes.
If it can be done for other people, I don't see why it can't be done for us. And so my stance, it's time to separate the institution. It's time to move it out of there.
And if I can jump in here as it relates to that, with the University of the Virgin Islands, because that's my alma mater. It's funny because for years there was an agreement, an arrangement with St. Kitts, where students who graduated from the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College were able to receive a significant discount on their tuition costs at UVI. That was not the same for the NEVIS sixth form college. I found that out because although I am from NEVIS, I attended the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College, but naturally when they saw my application, they just put it in the NEVIS pile, and so I was not benefiting. But I like to talk, and so I met friends, had conversations, and I heard them say certain things. I said, "Tal, that can't go so," because I want to know why why NEVISians can't benefit. Did some research, etc., and I could clearly remember, and I am so proud of this, that we were able to get NEVISians, the NEVIS sixth form college, students of the NEVIS sixth form college, with that same partnership where they would be able to get significant discount on tuition costs at the University of the Virgin Islands. One other thing I want to mention as it relates to partnerships, because you're hitting it for 6 months tonight. I remember from reading and from listening to persons that it's funny because back in 1992 or thereabout, we have a set of senior teachers on the island of NEVIS who were able to receive their degrees through a partnership where the University of Miami, they would go in the summer to the campus and get their in-person learning instruction. And then outside of the summer period, the teachers there would come here, and they would teach our teachers. Yes. And several of them, I mean, we're talking about top-notch teachers in NEVIS, were able to receive their degrees through that partnership. That takes vision, that takes creativity, that takes being able to communicate with people effectively and efficiently. And I find that that is something that is lacking. I mean, it's all well and good to sound good. It's all well and good to begin to do things when an election is upon us. But what happens outside of that? Where is the creativity? Where is the ability to establish partnerships that can benefit people outside of yourself and your immediate family? Also, with the Broward Community College, a similar initiative was put in place, but this time persons were able to receive their associate's degree via a similar concept. And so again, it pains me when I look at the situation we're in terms of education to some extent, because I can see some strides being made, and the teachers themselves are really going above and beyond, but they can only do so much. The policy direction must come from the top, and that is something that I realize that you talked about. The Four Seasons Resort, Rohan, he would have led.
He saw that there was something in tourism, and it was that desire to increase the economic benefits and economic prosperity of the island that would have led to, engaging in conversations and seeing what was possible. And of course, we somewhat 30 odd years, or 30 years or whatever number it is, Four Seasons is still here and continues to contribute significantly to the economic prospects for the island of NEVIS. Since then, and we've had many promises of grand resorts and hotels, and we're still counting the promises and not living the realities.
Correct. And it is not just about resorts and hotels, even though that's good. It's about being able to provide employment for people. I mean, that's the big thing. That was the main purpose. It wasn't so much so because Four Seasons was Five Diamond or anything. It was the ability to provide employment, meaningful employment. Because outside of government, Four Seasons would have been the single largest employer. I mean, we have not seen that for quite some time, outside of when the NRP would have brought Brownhill Communications. And so, I mean, again, it speaks to vision then, and the inept ability of or the inept way in which the island of NEVIS is being governed at this present moment. I mean, Rohan, we can speak a lot about this. I know it's almost time for us to wrap up, but I want you to also expound on the financial services sector, because I know he would have led the development of that as well.
Well, that was financial services. It was tourism and financial services, and it was all about, as you rightfully said, seeking to decrease the high rate of unemployment at the time. And every time I speak about that, it is a vision that is really key for me, because we talk about roads and electricity and water. Those were fine, but those were within the government's purview to do. But he went beyond that, because I can give you roads and electricity, but if you can't enjoy them comfortably, which is employment, providing income for your family, then it really makes no sense.
What good is electricity if you don't have a home?
And so he was always seeking to marry the two. The financial services, he set up the NEVIS Financial Services, continually one of the strongest in the region. That was in government. Outside of the government, he established the Bank of NEVIS.
Yes.
And so he was always looking at ways in which to ensure that as NEVIS moved forward, the people of NEVIS could move with its development. And today, Bank of NEVIS continues to demonstrate its financial strength. Of course, we recently recognized the acquisition of 2 regional banks. And so, once in a lifetime, these individuals come along, and his impact is going to outlive most of us, if not all of us, really.
Well, as we wind down, I just want to remind persons that we have his DNA in the NEVIS Reformation Party, and it's not just a matter of his DNA, you know, because if you get to know Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, you would realize she's a chip off the old block.
Yes.
In terms of ideas. She's visionary, and she is the leader of the NEVIS Reformation Party. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure being with you on this National Heroes Day. We took a slightly different approach to tonight's show because we wanted to highlight the significant contributions of some of our heroes, and I am hoping that more persons will grow to emulate the work of these fine men of St. Kitts and Nevis, and we can eventually have some more national heroes, which inclusive of women. Rohan, your final words.
Well, again, just congratulations to those who are awardees for 2020-2021, and we'll see you next week when you continue to speak up, Jaedee.
Yes. Good night and goodbye.
Join Jaedee Caines and Rohan Isles this and every Thursday on the Caribbean's powerhouse, Von Radio, for Speak Up, a social commentary talk show that addresses the state of affairs on NEVIS. Expect great conversations, different perspectives, and an all-inclusive approach to moving NEVIS forward. Tune in. It's time for us to speak up.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the NEVIS broadcast.